You're listening to Texas Live with K5, your number one resource for all things outdoors in North Texas.
Welcome to Texas Live with K5 here. I got a really good friend of mine, Rick. Introduce yourself.
Well, my name's Rick Spence, and I am your brother.
Yeah, and that is a fact. I'm just a little background. About 2.5 years ago, we started K5 Trolling Motors and Electronics, started a Facebook page, and I want to say that you were probably one of the very first likes and follows. Probably so. I think so. And it took like a year before, like I seen the like, I seen the follow, and it probably took close to a year before you come in.
Probably. I kept torturing you with messages because I wanted to upgrade some electronics, and I asked you a ton of questions, and when I was ready to start purchasing that, I, instead of actually going through with that, I had another opportunity with another boat, which was a better boat, but still, you're my go-to guy.
Man, I appreciate it a bunch.
Yeah.
We didn't, like I said, until 2.5 years ago, didn't know each other at all. But man, it's just a blessing to have a brother from another mother out there. Another red bearded guy. He'll tell you that he's got some gray in it now, but hey, there's still a lot of red there. Man, I just wanted to bring you on and see if we can talk fishing, man. I know it's a big passion of yours. Where I don't know how else to say this. I'm a man of God, and it's just really awesome whenever you meet a brother out there who loves fishing just as much as you do, and also loves God just as much as I do. So, man, I really appreciate you coming on, Rick.
Well, it's my pleasure. It's an honor to be here. You said it perfectly, that getting to connect with people that have a passion and love for the Lord is just icing on the cake. It just makes everything better. And, when we actually got to meet each other in person and got to talk, that you realize how similar your lives are and how similar your walks and discipleship really are. And it's just, you've been a blessing to me and my family.
Man, same here. Same here, man. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the ministry that you have going on. It was kind of funny because I think the first time that he brought his boat over, we did some work. I met him at Willow Park Baptist Church on a Sunday evening and exchanged an invoice and got a hat. And you see the hat sitting right here, Matthew 4:19, one of my favorite scriptures. And man, you want to talk to us about your ministry that you have going on?
Sure. Fishing is something that I've always loved. As far back as I can remember, from a little guy on up. And I know I used to drive my parents crazy because everywhere that we went, that I was always sneaking a fishing pole or trying to take a tackle box with me. And it didn't matter really what kind of fishing that it was, but it was just, fishing was just something that I always loved to do. I like to hunt too, but to me, fishing was just something that was just so much easier to do. And then growing up, that I had the opportunity to be mentored by several good men around the community that I grew up in, and they saw that I had this passion for fishing, and so they would take me with them, and different people around the community had property with lakes and stuff like that on it, and so they would invite me to come out. And little did I know that they were planting seeds in me, and those seeds would be harvested later, but they were taking something that I enjoyed to do and something that they enjoyed to do. And I didn't realize that they started this whole concept of what I would call boat conversations. And they would drip a little bit of their faith on me, a little bit of their testimony on me, not in a hard charging way, but just sharing their lives with me. And so all these years later, that I found myself in that same position where there's several young men in the church that every dad needs help with their kids. They need that reinforcement with their kids that they are looking out for their children. You know, every parent goes through this phase where they kind of knock heads with your kids, and you just got to have some positive reinforcement. And so that's all I'm doing. I'm standing in the gap in the same way that those guys did with me. Is that they were just standing in the gap for my folks and just reinforcing the right things to get me through this life. And that's all I'm doing. So, but it's not just with young guys. I find myself taking adult men out when they find out that I fish, that they'll say, I've never been bass fishing before. And I'm like, oh, we got to fix that. So, and then there's people in the church that have some private lakes and stuff that the fish aren't really big, but I call it a target rich environment. And if you want to get somebody hooked, it doesn't matter if they're 8-pounders. I mean, they're just as happy with 1-2-pounders, and especially on top water.
Aren't you and I too? I mean, I'll take a day of catching any day. I mean, I know some guys that are, man, I'd rather just catch 2 big ones but on me, I want to get bites. I've got ADD bad, man, self-diagnosed, so I gotta have something going on.
Me too. But any day on the water is a good day, and especially any day fishing is a good day. And I like taking other people to those target-rich environments where my wife, she has to bear the brunt of the difference between catching and fishing, and unfortunately, she's been more on the fishing end than the catching end. She thinks I'm that. I'll catch 1-2 big ones, and then that's it. That's all I'm looking for. But it's not playing.
Right. Man. Well, I mean, just a little bit I love this ministry because it really hits home with me. Whenever I was growing up, my dad had me every weekend. It was an every weekend deal. And just for those that don't, you don't know, my dad, it's my stepdad, but he raised me, it's my dad. And he, every weekend he didn't have to, but on Saturday mornings, he would take us out to Lake Weatherford. We had a bucket of minnows and we fished every Saturday morning, no matter what. And so I take that and I think about what you're doing with some of these young men, young, I think that that's an amazing thing because I run into so many young people nowadays that don't have that father figure in their life, and it makes a huge difference.
It kind of started with one of the ladies in church that she's a single mom, and she approached me and she said, would you mind spending time with my son? He really needs, a male role model figure. Well, of course, I always have this imposter complex, and I'm like, there's a lot better guys than me. But she asked me, and I said yes, and I started dragging him with me, and it's funny, because fishermen like to get up early and get on the water, and there's it gave my wife an opportunity to be a part of it, because she would make breakfast, little breakfast bars and burritos and stuff, and send them on the way to make sure that I'm not starving somebody. And then it also gave people in the church an opportunity to help too by giving us a place to fish, and so they're part of the ministry too. And as this started kind of happening, and different people would find out, that I'm fishing, or I take somebody fishing, and they would start asking me about it, and the verse kind of popped up. I've read Matthew 4:19, hundreds of times, and it just never really. I mean, I understood what it meant, and it's always been one of my favorites. But just one day, in my daily time alone with God, I call it TAWG, TAWG. It just kind of jumped out off the page, and that's the great thing about Bible reading. No matter how many times you go through the Bible, that where you are in a different point in your life, a verse will speak to you differently, and God reveals Himself to you differently. And so, one morning, Matthew 4:19 just jumped off the page, And I'm like, huh, maybe I'm supposed to do something with this. And there for about 3 or 4 months, I made the mistake of telling my wife, and so that makes it real. And so when these every times that this verse would come up, whether the pastor gets up and preaches on it one weekend, that she would just look at me. She'd grab my arm and and so she said, maybe this needs to be a real thing. And it's still in its early stages. And I don't know where it's going to go from here. I know that you've been involved with Cast for Kids and things like that. And maybe this will be a part of that as well. But I mean, I've done the first thing, that I've secured a website so that we can start building some marketing. And so I've reserved the website, Follow Me and Fish.
Wow, that's cool.
And the hats, we, no matter where we go, that somebody wants to know about the verse.
Right.
It just, it's everywhere. And it's funny. It's probably always been there, but once I really acknowledge it and accept that maybe this is what God is calling me to do, to take something that I like to do and I'm passionate, what restores me, as a guy, we got to have guy stuff to do, and share that with somebody else, and then they get that same restoration and fulfillment from it. It's it's like compound interest.
There's no words for it. It's tough.
It's not. It's not. And I know that the just with the hats, that as people ask me about it, I mean it even if they don't fish, that they can immediately relate to what it is that you're trying to do. And it's just amazing, just the few short months that we've really been trying to push it forward to, what all has happened. And on top of that, that I've shared with you that I attend Parker County Cowboy Church, and they call me a lay pastor, but I'm kind of ramrod our men's breakfast once a month. It's first Saturday of every month, and that started kind of the same way. That I had made the mistake of saying to the pastor, I said, this really could be something pretty big, and it's amazing how many different people have come to that breakfast in one time. If different people will come, different, they'll move to this part of the country for a little while and they'll move off, but just through social media, people from all across the country know about that. And so,
If y'all would serve more bacon, there might be more people show up. Anyway, that's a joke. We're going to talk more about that here in just a second, but we're going to go ahead and take a break real quick. So y'all stay tuned. My brother, Rick Spence, great guy. And we've got some awesome conversations to have coming up. So y'all stay tuned. Thanks for tuning in. This show is brought to you by K5 Trolling Motors and Electronics out here in Weatherford, Texas. If you need a trolling motor serviced, if you're looking to put a new trolling motor on your boat, if you're looking to upgrade those electronics and get ready for fall time fishing, that's the phone call that you need to make. They're open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Their phone number is 817-757-9915. They'd be glad to help you. They are subject matter experts in the marine electronics and trolling motor industry. Thank you so much. Welcome back. You're watching Texas Live with K5 here. Got a really good friend of mine, Rick Spence, in the house. And he's got a really awesome ministry. And is it just Matthew 4:19 or what is the name of the ministry?
the website's Follow Me and Fish.
Okay. So Follow Me and Fish is the website
.com.
They're working on
the website will be up and running very soon.
Okay, there you go. So y'all have to plug that in and check it out. It's just really awesome. We were just talking during break, when you have opportunities like this that the Lord puts in front of you to step up in these kids' lives, for me, Rick, it's, for instance, and not to brag or anything like that, but just within the last month, actually before, like about a month and a half ago, remember you and I were having the conversation, and I'm scared to death because they're kind of talking about Jessica and I stepping up in youth at our church. And I'm going, man, I feel kind of funny about it. What do you think? And, but here's what I've realized in anything that I've done, being a boat captain and stuff. You think that you're the one helping these kids out, but you don't realize how much that kid is actually helping you. And do you feel the same way? I mean,
all the time. In fact, I was just talking with our pastor this last weekend about, we had an ironman breakfast, and I told him, I said, every time that, there's always some anxiety leading up to it to make sure that everything is just right and all that. And then when it happens, you always walk away feeling more fulfilled and more blessed than what you feel like you give to everybody else. And to me, I really, gosh, I feel almost guilty.
yeah, I know.
But I think that's the way the Lord designed it to be.
Right.
I mean, that you're filled with joy from blessing others.
Right. Can I share a little bit of a testimony?
Go.
So I guess it was about 9 years ago, and River and his partner. So funny story, kind of a long story. I'll make it short. But I had a tournament coming up on Squaw Creek, and I'll fish Squaw Creek every weekend. But they shut down the lake for the very first ever Texas High School Bass Association tournament. Well, I was all the time. This was, before really paying attention to my Bible and reading and stuff, constantly on the Texas Fishing Forum all the time. Needed to know what was going on every lake. Well, they shut down the lake that weekend or that day, and I needed to get out there and pre-fish. Well, it just so happened on the Texas Fishing Forum, River and his partner had reached out and said that their boat captain had dumped them at the last minute and they needed a boat captain. And I looked at it and I said, honey, they need a boat captain. I need to go to Squaw Creek. Well, it was more about me going out there to pre-fish than it was for the kids at that point.
Yeah.
Man, them kids changed my life. They went out there that morning. It was so funny. We get out there on the water. There's 100 and some odd boats in this tournament. I mean, 100 and something boats in a tournament on Squaw Creek. It was insane. Well, we get out there and we pull up to the first spot. Everybody knows Squaw Creek, fishing deep, fishing with the Carolina rig, dragging baits. And those kids said, man, all we fish is golf course ponds. We don't know how to fish deep. And I said, okay, well, are you willing to try something new? And they said, absolutely. So I put rods in their hands, and I didn't want to fish. Put those rods in their hands. They were fishing. They're like, Mr. Tim, we really just don't have any confidence in this. Can you throw out there a couple times to show us how to work it? I said, I don't really want to, but I will. Threw out there first time, caught a 7-pounder. Those kids, the very first cast, I catch a 7-pounder. And those that know, a 7-pounder at Squaw Creek nowadays, not very common.
That's a monster.
Yeah. So 7-pound fish, I flip it, put it in the boat, and I bet you River and them are watching right now. And you can ask them. And so they said, Mr. Tim, if you could rig us up a bait, it would be amazing on a Carolina rig. I said, okay, I'll do it. So I did. And that day, them kids put 24 pounds in the boat, and they ended up getting second place in that tournament. And to see the excitement on those kids' face, it was just amazing, man.
And forever turned them into Carolina rigs.
Oh yeah, they love Carolina rigs. Man, those kids were Carolina rig fishermen after that day. But anyway, it sparked something that I never ever thought about with taking those kids fishing and their parents. It was funny because the next day I got a phone call from their parents. Hey man, we were kind of a little nervous about you taking our kids out because we didn't know you and it was somebody offline, but our kids said they had a day of fishing that they'll never forget, and they got second place. Really? We didn't know we were hired a guide. I said, listen, it all the stars aligned. And now that I look back on it, it was a God thing, man.
It was.
And I don't know, I haven't talked to River and them in a while. I have them on Facebook. They still like my post every now and then, and man, I love it. I really do. And you know, the cool thing about Facebook is the memories pop up, and it just hit 9 years since that tournament. And but I mean, you think about, Rivers. I mean, heck, he's probably over 25 now. I mean, 20, 27, 28. I mean, he's getting up there now, but that little bit of one fishing trip, but it ended up turning into another year because he was a junior that year, and we ended up fishing all the way through his senior year. And then after that, it was so funny because I'm like, well, what am I going to do now? I don't have any kids to take fishing. Then all of a sudden I get a deal that comes across Facebook for Easter High School Bass Fishing Association. And that just I got in the door with them and started taking other kids fishing. Everybody looked at me funny because it was, man, you don't have any kids that are this age. And I said, I know, but I feel like this is what I'm being called.
You're
to
in training.
You know what I mean? Like it was awesome, man. I met some of the godliest people that, I mean, just super nice people that literally, if I ever have any kind of questions, issues, anything like that, I call upon them. They're big time praying people, big time reading people. And still to this day, I still call them, and it's pretty cool. I mean, so it was funny to watch the Lord work in that because, and I'll just say their name, Chuck and Sarah Bratcher, really good friends of mine and really godly people. And they're the ones who kind of started and ramrodded the Peaster High School Bass Fishing Association. Yeah. And then after that, it was handed off to Micah Black. And both of those people are spiritual mentors of mine, that's awesome. And it's really cool to watch how that's all kind of been orchestrated by God. So
that's awesome.
But I guess it goes back to like what I was saying. It's more about what the Lord's doing
both ways.
Yeah. It's not just about what he's doing with you for those kids, but what he's doing for you through the kids.
Right.
So it's pretty amazing, man. But this ministry really touches my heart. I just want you to know that.
It's a generational thing. I mean, you were talking about River, but I mean, one of these days he'll be in that position, and I guarantee you he'll remember. And the first time Mr. I mean, talk about throwing down first cast.
I mean, I used to be able to catch fish. I did. And now it's, used to back in the day, it was every single Friday I would be getting phone calls about where am I going fishing this weekend. And then on Mondays, I'd be getting the phone calls of how was the fishing this weekend. And nowadays it's, hey, my trolling motor broke. Can you get it fixed? Cause I broke something this weekend. It's different now, but anyway,
an early Saturday morning call from me.
Oh man. But I just want y'all to know that I've been there. I've done the fishing. I've tournament fished, done all these things. And I mean, I think that I care about my customers. Most of my customers are my friends. I don't know why, but I never meet a stranger. And
I appreciate probably most of all in how you rig my boat. You've got battlefield perspective. You've been in the trenches, and so being a fisherman yourself, how it needs to be. And it's like you're walking around in my mind, and I don't even have to tell you. And it works out perfectly.
Battlefield perspective. I like it. Y'all look out. I'm gonna have to get with Ashley and see if she can add that to the Facebook. Battlefield perspective. I had a friend of mine the other day. Well, Dennis, the guy who did the very first episode with us, he goes, making Marine service great again. And I said, Dennis, thank you so much. So I listen to all these things. So just so y'all know,
great. That was great. I love that too.
We were on the way to Possum Kingdom the other day, making Marine service great again, bro. And I said, perfect, man. I love it. Yeah, I'm gonna run with that. Thank you. But anyway, man, what else?
So do you want to talk about bacon?
I do. That's what I was trying to get through to you. We need to talk about this bacon. I joined y'all. Was it on the last one or the one before? Y'all had one what last weekend?
We had with it this last Saturday, but it was
The one before that. Yeah. I was just joking about the bacon. I mean, tell them about it, Rick. Come on.
So when I told the pastor that our men's breakfast could be a lot more, and he goes, of course, I wasn't smart enough to realize that I was getting myself into something. And the pastor did what any good pastor would do. He's like, great, you take it. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even see it coming. And I said, okay, but if I'm going to do this, we got to do it the right way. I said, if you want guys to come, then you have to really put out the food, and you can't be chintzy with the bacon. I said, you got to make sure that they have all the bacon they can stand, plus a little bit more. And so when we first started doing it, and of course the key to feeding a bunch of guys on a Saturday morning is you don't want to keep them long, because everybody's got stuff to do on a Saturday. So we get them in there, we feed them, and we start cooking. We serve at 8 o'clock in the morning. We start cooking about 6 o'clock in the morning. And I've got the most awesome group of guys that have such a servant's heart to want to serve. And most Saturdays, occasionally we have bigger Saturdays, but most of the Ironman breakfasts that we're cooking about 32 pounds of bacon. We cook about 16 pounds of breakfast sausage and about 16 pounds of smoked sausage. And so it's a meat lover's paradise. And I still go on the record of saying there is no such thing as leftover bacon.
Man, I got to talk about something that really just throttled me whenever I went was, some of us have some issues with keeping the weight off. And man, I've been hitting the carnivore pretty hard trying to cut some pounds. And I walk right in there, and I'm not sure who makes those cinnamon rolls. But man, they had to have been the best looking cinnamon rolls that I've ever seen in my life. I brought them home. My kids and wife knocked them out. So that ought to tell you, they're good.
That sweet lady, Debbie Reedy. She was a kindergarten teacher there in Aledo, and I don't know how she does it, and I don't know how her husband doesn't weigh 6,000 pounds, but she makes the best sourdough cinnamon rolls. And every time that her husband Jack brings them in the door, that he brings those pans in, and you can see the light, the rays from heaven shining down on these things. And but yeah, they are phenomenal.
You saying the Holy Spirit follows her around because of them cinnamon rolls? Man, I'm telling you, I had to smell them things all the way home, and I was like, maybe I can get away from this carnivore for a day. But the problem is, Rick, is I can't have one without having two or three. So
that's the way it is. That's the way it is. You're just better off refraining, but just smelling them, I think I gained about 2 or 3 pounds. I did the same thing. Jack had saved me a couple of them, and so I was going to give them to my niece, and they were in the truck, and I'm smelling them all the way. And when I got out of the truck, I'm like, I think my pants fit a little bit tighter.
Man, so we're cooking all this bacon, all this food. We're having an awesome breakfast, but man, what else is going on?
We do a devotional during the Ironman, and so we get in there. We start breakfast promptly at 8 o'clock, and we give guys enough time to eat, and then we do a short devotional. We've had some of the most incredible speakers. Of course, the Cowboy Church. A lot of the guys that we've had so many different world champions come through there and speak to our men. And once a year that we do a car show, and when we do the car show, usually it's in May when we do the car show, that we also invite the ladies. And because it originally started when we started combining the Ironman with the car show, that a lot of the guys were like, well, the the car show guys bring their wives. Can they come to breakfast? I'm like, well, yeah. The funny thing is how many of the women find out about the breakfast and watch what we've done and how many guys are actually coming and so they were a bit jealous and so they were like, well, when are you going to do one for an Iron Women? I'm like, oh, I don't know that I got that in me, but yeah. But doing the car show once a year has really helped with that, and so they this last year I think we fed 180 or so
Wow.
men and women. When had an amazing turnout for the car show, and it's a good time. Just kind of almost a whole day. That was a lot of bacon, a lot of eggs.
Man, you know what I love about it is you invited me to come over there, and of course, I mean, this is what I love about it is I go to a different church out west of Springtown, Agnes Baptist. It's man, just a awesome group of people to worship with, fellowship with. But I think a lot of churches nowadays miss that we are all one church. You know what I'm saying? And I love that whenever I went, like when I went over there to this Iron Man and I fixed me a plate full of food and I went over there and I was looking for a place to sit because there's a lot of people. I mean, there's a lot of men there, so you don't know, and I don't know anybody but Rick. Rick's the only one that I knew there. But by the time I left, I felt like I had a whole entire room full of brothers there because they were super nice. I mean, super nice people. I had this guy, there was no chair around. The guy, I don't even know him, older gentleman, walked over there, grabbed a chair from across the room, brought it over there and sat it down there at the table. Every one of them shook my hand, made me feel welcome. And it wasn't and that's what I love about art. Agnes is the same, like, friendly atmosphere, and it's not about stealing members here, there, whatever. It's about the body of Christ as a whole, and coming together, learning, worshiping, praising, fellowshipping, and I love that, man. I mean, I feel like you can feel.
And we had you out of there by 9 o'clock.
Yeah, you had me out of there by 9 o'clock, which I didn't care. I could have stayed for. You know how it is. You get into an atmosphere like that, and an hour or two can fly by quick.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that because you don't know this, but about, I'd say 30-40% of those guys that were there, they go to other churches.
Wow.
I invite everybody. I invite you to come first Saturday of every month.
Yeah.
Parker County Cowboy Church in Aledo, Texas.
Look for the big gray bearded guy up there talking to everybody.
But that's what it's supposed to be. Just come have breakfast, hang out, and sometimes you just need to be around a bunch of guys who are not afraid to be guys.
Yep.
And I mean, there's some of the best conversations that have come out of that people tell me conversations that they've had with different guys at their table, and I'm like, man, this is what it's all about. And sometimes things happen in our lives, and just knowing somebody gives a rip, means everything.
It's huge.
Or been there, done that, and they survived. Just encouragement, that comes out of that. You're not alone.
No, absolutely not. And I'm telling you, by the time I left there, I felt like I had a whole entire room full of brothers. Now, it's tough sometimes on Saturdays because we're chasing down softball and baseball and everything else.
Are in the zone.
But I will be back for sure. And y'all come check it out. Next time I go, I'm gonna bring 4 or 5 friends too. So y'all better cook some more bacon, boy. There's some bacon eaters.
Well, that'll work.
Anyway, y'all stay tuned. We'll be wrapping up here shortly, and we're just gonna take a small break. This show is brought to you by K5 Trolling Motors and Electronics in Weatherford, Texas. If you need a trolling motor serviced, if you're looking to upgrade that trolling motor or upgrade those electronics and get ready for the fall and wintertime fishing season, now is the time. They're subject matter experts on fishing electronics. Anyway, give them a call, 817-757-9915. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Welcome back to Texas Live with K5 here. Got my really good friend Rick Spence here. Man, thank you so much for coming on, but I'm not going to let you get free yet. Let's talk about fishing a little bit more, man. What have you been out? I mean, you and I went out about what, 2 or 3 weeks ago. We had a little family emergency. Everything's fine. Everybody's good. But we only got to fish for about an hour, and it was kind of tough. I think we got a couple of bites. You set the hook a few times, but
Yeah, couple of bites, but nothing in the boat.
yeah. Have you been at all anywhere local?
Well, I had celebrated my 37th anniversary, and my wife and I went on a cruise around the Hawaiian Islands. So
Congrats.
I haven't been since that. Of course, you've been working on my boat, and
Hey, nothing broke. It was upgrades.
we're always upgrading. But
What do we put on?
we put on a Mega 360, and you always got to put more stuff on.
Yeah.
Doesn't always mean that you're gonna catch more fish, but
I may have accidentally sold them on it when we went fishing a few weeks ago, but
I will say that greatly influenced my decision, and that you're one of those salesmen who you don't have to really do a sales pitch. You just show them what the electronics do, and I was watching it spin around up there, and I'm like, golly, this is so cool. And I've been wanting one for a while, but that really just sold me on it, and I think it's going to be a game changer. But the before that I've been out, but it's funny going to the big lakes around here that the wake boats have just gotten out of hand. I mean, they don't pay attention to where they're going, and I'm sure that's a little influenced by different things. But golly, the fishing has actually been kind of tough. But right before we went on our vacation, that I ran out to Benbrook, and just one afternoon by myself, and I caught several out there, and it was one of those days where you would think there'd be a lot of people on the lake on a Sunday afternoon, and you think the lake would be full, but it was me and maybe a couple other crappie fishermen out there, and I wasn't catching anything real big. Probably the biggest one I caught was about 3 pounds, but I was wearing them out,
man,
on a Carolina rig.
Oh,
So
imagine that.
we were talking about that, and that's been one of those things that. So a friend of mine that I fish with occasionally, that I go to church with, I joke around and call him Sensei, because before I started fishing with him, I've always been a jig, a Texas rig guy, and I mean that's what I grew up fishing, and so that's in my wheelhouse. And feeling that little tick on a jig, I'm comfortable with that. But what you were saying before about those boys, and I've had similar experience with my buddy Ralph, because he grew up fishing fork, and he is so good with the Carolina rig. And another friend had introduced me to the Carolina rig before, but I didn't catch anything. I was just dragging across some shell beds, and I just didn't have a feel for it. But when I started going fishing with my buddy Ralph, and we fish maybe once or twice a year, and he's got such a good feel for fishing deep, dragging baits across the bottom, and every time that we fish together, it cracks me up, because he's over there and he'll land. I become net boy, and he will catch at least 1 5-pounder, 6-pounder. He's all. I mean, he's got such a good feel for that Carolina rig, and he will just wear them out on that. And I'm over there catching, these little guys, and it's so funny because I've started documenting this with pictures, and I'd take a picture of him, and I said, okay, you take a picture of me and send them to me. And every time he's got monster fish and I got the guppies. But I am that one Sunday that I went out by myself that you know it's a lot like what I try to do with everybody else. I mean, you introduce them to something new. We have boat conversations. We talk about our faith and but somebody's got to show you how to do it. Just like with you with those kids, casting it out there. Most of us learn best by watching somebody else, watching what they do, and that there's so much that you don't realize how many people are watching you and learning from you, even when you don't say anything to them or when you're working with them directly, but they're watching what you're doing. And
Boy, that's deep.
that
I mean, in everything
it's true.
in
It's
life.
true. I mean, the whole time I'm fishing with my buddy Ralph Sensei, I mean, I'm like, I'm always kind of glancing out the side of my glasses, trying to watch him pick up something new. But it's just like that. And then when I've had different kids on the fishing with me, and there's a lot of little things that you teach them life lessons, and you find that as you're going along and you're catching one, they're studying your every move, and and they begin to do that with your conversations too, and they do that with how you interact with other men. I mean, I try to encourage the guys to bring their sons with them. I mean, because sons need to know how to interact with other guys.
Absolutely.
They need to know the type of guys you want to be around.
Right.
Oh, anyway, that's
So did he catch any big ones that day?
3 pounds is about the biggest that I got.
Oh, man.
But I'm like you. As long as I'm catching, I don't care.
Yeah, I'm glad to know that they're still fishing Benbrook because every time I go there, I never catch nothing.
Well,
And I struggle, but I hear a lot of fishing stories. I'm the king of the dock talk now because that's all. I basically live fishing through y'all now because I'm in the shop all the time. So I hear of some good ones being caught out there. I've just never had much luck.
so it's funny. So talking about my friend Ralph, the first time I really went out with him, and he's really teaching me how to fish Carolina rig. I've, I've drug worms for maybe 30 minutes. I really didn't have any feel with him. Fishing that day, I caught a couple small ones, and he caught some good ones. And the very next weekend, that it's a Sunday afternoon, it's in the middle of July. It's so hot. It's after church, and I'm doing everything I can to talk myself out of going. And I'm saying, I'm just going to go. I go out there, first cast, I catch a 4-pounder on a Carolina rig. And I'm like, holy smokes, how did this happen? And then about 3 casts later, I catch a 7-pounder.
Wow.
This is all in Benbrook. So
If there ain't no pictures, I don't believe it.
this is all the span of about an hour. On a day that I wasn't going to go, that I was trying to talk myself out. There was a lesson in that too.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple weeks ago, I was trying to talk myself out of going when I called you. If you would have told me, no, I'm good, I would have just stayed home. I promise you. But it was good. I mean, we had a good time either way.
When you called that, my wife says, "Who was that?" And I said, "It was Tim." And she said, "So I guess you're going fishing." But she knows that it I'm supposed to be on the boat.
Helps the heart.
It does.
It really does.
It does.
So, man, well, let's talk real quick. I just want to remind everybody about the ministry that the Lord has put on your heart, and let's tell them about the website again.
It's Follow Me and Fish, where we just secured the website. We're in the process of getting the website built. We're going to be up and running, and we'll be doing a Facebook page too. But that'll all be done within about a week or so.
Okay. Follow me and
.com.
fish.com. And just so you know, because I don't know that we ever said, I mean, if you don't know what Matthew 4:19 is, it's not going to do a whole lot of good. So
4:19 is follow me, and I will make you fishers of men.
And who's saying that? Jesus Christ. So it's amazing. If you haven't seen that scripture, pick up the Bible, turn over to Matthew 4:19 and check it out. If you pick up the Bible and just start reading, guaranteed to change your life.
Yep.
I mean, 100%. Doesn't matter what stage
All
you're
for the
in.
better.
It doesn't matter if you're what you're going through. The Lord, it will touch your heart, and it will change you for the better. And it's done amazing things in my life. You've heard the amazing things that it's done in Rick's life. So I encourage you, if you don't know Christ, open up the Bible, find a congregation of believers. What church?
Parker County Cowboy Church in Aledo, Texas.
Parker County Cowboy Church, Aledo, Texas. Agnes Baptist Church we're about maybe 5 to 8 miles west of Springtown. Both Bible preaching, believing churches. Just get out there, learn as much as you can about the Lord, and I promise you it'll change your life. But anyway, man, thank you so much for coming on. I love you, brother. And it's just been a pleasure. And again, guys, this is Texas Live with K5. Check us out on Spotify. You can look us up on YouTube. We're on Apple Podcast. Join, subscribe, check it out. These shows will be dropping weekly, hopefully here soon. So until next time, we'll see you all in the water.
Thank you for tuning in to Texas Live with K5, your number one source for all things outdoors in North Texas. Please like and subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcast, or Spotify to support us and enjoy more North Texas outdoor content. Like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. If you're interested in joining the show or us mentioning your business throughout the show, contact us at k5trollingmotors@gmail.com.